Welcome back again to Arinka's Kitchen. I have another family favorite recipe, and it is called Hungarian crepes, palacsinta. So what I have here in a bowl, I have 4 eggs, and I'm going to add salt and sugar. I've added salt and sugar to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a fork and I'm going to beat up the eggs and the salt and the sugar together. Mix it together until it's frothy. So this is a family favorite recipe. My grandmother would make this. I'd visit her in Hungary often, and when I stayed for about 6 weeks. So she would make this recipe for me twice, and it would take her pretty much most of the afternoon to cook up the crepes, because then her grandchildren and other family members would come over and we'd have crepes for dinner. So it's actually a delicious recipe. So I'm going to be sharing with you some of the fillings that she would put into the crepe. So I got that all sort of beat up into sort of a frothy mixture, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start adding the flour. So you want to make a batter that's smooth and without any lumps. So what I do is I add some flour, and then I mix the eggs with the flour. And then I continue to do that. And then of course I add some liquid. So I've got 4 cups of milk. I'm just going to add about a cup to that at a time. And you want to mix the ingredients in slowly, not all together, so that you get a sort of a smooth consistency. So I'm going to add another cup of flour. So I've got about 3.5 cups of flour here, approximately. So if you find that your batter is a bit thin, you might want to add maybe just a 1/4 cup more. But this is something that was measured out by my mother. She made palacsinta last week for my husband and I, and so of course we were invited over and we had some of it, and we had some leftovers, and we brought some home for the next day. So this any leftover crepes can be kept in the fridge for a couple days, the ones that are filled, and you can put them in a container and cover them up, and can be so it's becoming very smooth. I've used brown eggs, so the batter is kind of yellow in color, so I've used some brown eggs. The yolk is a bit deeper in color, like the yellow. And it's quite common for, like, I know my grandmother would specifically look for brown eggs, especially when she was doing pastries. She would use brown eggs because the yolk is kind of a deeper yellow color. So I'm going to add 1 more cup of flour. So I'm going to alternate, and I'm going to add another cup of milk, and I'm going to, and it's just just easier that way to get a smoother consistency if you're kind of adding everything gradually into it. Now this can be used for a meat filling. So my next recipe is going to be crepes with meat filling. So another Hungarian recipe, and that one doesn't have sugar in it. In the batter, you would put just salt in it if you're going to use a meat filling. So this is more for like fillings that have sugar in it, like with fruit or cottage cheese. So it's looking really good. I still have a little bit of lumps in it, but I'm going to work at that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue stirring this together, and then the next process is I'm going to show you how you would fry it in the frying pan. Welcome back again to Arinka's Kitchen. I have prepared a batter, and what I'd like to do is show you what the consistency looks like. And then I've fried up a couple of the crepes. I'm going to show you what they actually look like. And then what I will do is I'll go over to the frying pan, and I will show you exactly how a crepe is made and how much of the batter that you actually need in order to make the crepe. So I'd like to show you the batter. So it has a smooth consistency in it. So all the ingredients that I mentioned previously are in it. So I've mixed it together, and I'm using a soup ladle, a sort of a small one, and I take 1.5 of the measurement of the batter, and then I put it into the frying pan. Of course, the frying pan has been heated to medium heat, and I've added a small amount of vegetable shortening, and it's just the tip of a sort of a butter knife. That's how much vegetable shortening you need for each of the crepes as you fry each of them individually. So I'm going to show you what the actual crepe looks like when it is fried up. So it has it's medium size, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill these with my cottage cheese filling and some jam, and I'm going to show you exactly how that's done also. So what I'd like to do is go over to the stove, and I'm going to show you exactly what I'm doing here. So what I've done is I've preheated a frying pan, and I'm just going to bring the camera down just a slight bit so that you can see. I have a frying pan on the stove, and I've measured out some vegetable shortening, approximately the size of a butter knife, the tip of it, and I put some vegetable shortening into it. So I'm going to take a ladle full of the batter mixture, and I'm going to pour it into the frying pan, and then I'm going to sort of spread it around evenly. So I'm going to lift up my frying pan, and I'm going to kind of make sure that it is evenly distributed around the edges. So I'm just going to do that to make it kind of like into a round crepe. And then it's at medium heat, so I'm going to wait until the one side is sort of browned, and then I'm going to turn it over, and then I'm going to do the other side. So I'm going to continue doing that until all my batter is used up. Now this recipe is for 6 to 7 people, but if you wanted less, you could cut the recipe in half. You can do half of all the ingredients, and it would serve probably about 3 people. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill half of the crepes with jam and cottage cheese, and then I'm going to take whatever leftover crepes I have, and I'm going to put them in a large Ziploc, sort of a freezer bag, and then I'm going to freeze them. So the next time if I want to make crepes again, I can pull them out of the freezer, I can thaw them out in the microwave, and then I can fill them up with the same fillings that I mentioned to you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish frying up the crepes that I need for today for dinner, and then I will show you how that's done. Welcome back again to Arinka's Kitchen. What I've done is I've fried up some crepes for you, and I'm going to show you how the crepes are filled with different types of fillings that I've mentioned in my recipe. So what I've done is I've used 250 grams of dried curd cottage cheese. So I'm going to add that to my bowl. So this is dry curd cottage cheese. And then I'm going to add 250 grams of 2% cottage cheese. This is how my mother puts together her filling, and my grandmother did it a similar way too. So, and then I've got 14% cottage or sour cream. So I've used half of that. So it's 1.5 tablespoons of 14% sour cream. And then sugar. I've added a 1/4 cup of sugar. You can add more if you like. and vanilla. So that's approximately 2 teaspoons of pure vanilla extract. I'm just going to stir that around. So this is going to be one of the fillings. So I've used half the amount because I'm not going to be making as much crepes with the sour cream or the cottage cheese filling. So, and it's already smelling just great with the vanilla. I'm just going to stir that around and prepare that for to fill the crepes. So what I've done is I've fried up four crepes, and I just want to show you how each of them are filled up and how they're rolled. I'm going to prepare that. And then what I have here is some peach jam. I didn't have any apricot jam at home, so I've got some peach jam prepared, like I bought that at the store. This is my plum jam recipe, the one that I cooked up, and I have that recipe on my website. So this is homemade plum jam. So these can be filled into the crepes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how each of the crepes are filled. So I'm going to take my cottage cheese filling. I'm just going to show you how this is done. So what I do is I take a tablespoon of the cottage cheese mixture, and if you want more, you can add more. So I'm just going to add two tablespoons of it onto here, and that should be enough for my crepes. Now, if you were going to make smaller crepes, you can use less. I choose to have my crepes a little bit bigger, and depending on the size of your frying pan, but I've used a medium-sized frying pan for this particular recipe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll the crepe lengthwise like that, and that's going to be one of my crepes. And then I'm going to take another one of my crepes, and I'm going to fill it with some plum jam filling. So I'm just going to spread that around on the crepe like that, sort of evenly like that. And then I'm going to roll it again. So I'm going to roll these, and then I'm going to do the same with the apricot jam. So I'm just going to take another crepe, and I'm going to put some, this is peach jam, so I'm just going to spread it with peach jam. You can use apricot jam. Traditionally it's sort of apricot jam, barátskrekvar. I'm just going to spread that around, and then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to roll it up like that. So that would actually be a large serving, so probably 2 of those per person, and it would be very filling. So what I would do then is I would add a dollop of sour cream on the top. So I take a spoonful of sour cream and I put it on the top of it in the center, or I take some icing sugar and then I'd sprinkle it, powdered icing sugar, and I'd sprinkle it on the top of it. And it really is a meal in one. It's kind of a dessert / kind of dinner sort of meal. So that's what I'll be making up for dinner. So I'm going to be making up probably 2 each for each of us, for my husband, and then I'm going to leave whatever of the crepes I have left over, and I'm going to freeze them in a freezer bag, and maybe next week or in the next 2 weeks I will be making PALACSINTA again, crepes again. So I hope that you enjoy serving this to your family and friends. So if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to contact me at Irene@irenkaskitchen.com. or irinkaskitchen.com. Until next time, bon appetit, jó étvágyat!